What's up, guys? Today we are going to train the biceps because we want biceps just like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So how are we going to create those peaky biceps? Today I'm going to show you 3 of my favorite movements for the biceps and also the way to do them to create not just peaky but also full biceps in case you haven't got those already. And the first movement will be the cable curl. Now I like to do bicep movements at the end of a back workout to make sure the biceps are already warmed up so you can get started with a slightly higher weight, but always warm up the biceps before going to the heavier weight. I already warmed up the biceps because I just trained the back, and what I did is make sure this pulley is around hip height because we are first going to focus on the lengthened part of the biceps, because when you have a lot of tension on a lengthened part, you grow the most muscle. So if you put this at hip height, that means when I'm doing the exercise right now, you will be able to see that right here, there's not much tension, so the contraction part has minimal tension, but the stretch, guys, the stretch right here is very difficult to do, and the more tension you get at the stretch, the better growth and the more stimulus will occur. So in terms of rep range, I like to stay around 12 to 20, basically, nothing below 10. The biceps, there are small muscle groups, so you don't want to strain them with too much weight, and you can pretty much go to failure here because it's a small muscle group. It won't cause as much fatigue, so let's do this. So make sure also the motion is nice and controlled. Control the negative, feel the stretch, and go all the way until that peak contraction. Even though there's minimal tension here, you still want the contraction to be, in a mind-muscle connection state. You want to feel that contraction as well as the maximum stretch. Now the biceps are nicely pumped up in terms of the amount of sets. You can go crazy and do a lot of sets here, but you might want to spread out the amount of times you train the biceps throughout the week. This can be twice, 3 times, or even 4 times a week. But every time you train, you can lower the volume per training session to make sure the overall volume of the week is the same. But the more often you can train the biceps, in my opinion, the better it is. I personally train it at least twice a week. It's a strong muscle group. So in terms of sets, I like to do around 4 to 6 sets every time I train the biceps. And with that, we're going to go to the next movement. Alrighty, now we just did the biceps with a lengthened emphasis, and now we're going to do it with a contraction, squeeze emphasis, aka the concentration curl, the good old concentration curl from back in the day, one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite movements, and we all know how big his biceps were, so let's give it a shot. When I'm doing this, make sure to watch the control over the movement, but also the peak contraction here, guys. Once again, the first movement was to focus on the stretch. This one will be to focus on the contraction. And with this contraction, be aware you have 2 bicep heads, the short head and the long head, or the outside head and the inner head. Here we truly want to focus on the outside head by making it contract as hard as we can, because once the outside head is larger than the inside, you will create a much better peak. Let's do this. You can do this standing up or sitting down, but I like to do this, of course, the old school way, like Arnold used to do it. And here also the rep range is going to be 12 to 20. As long as you go to or very close to failure, you will always get the stimulus you need to make them grow. So all the way up, contract, slowly down, and repeat. And once you cannot get all the way up anymore, that's the end of the set. Alrighty, then we have exercise number 3. We all think about the 2 bicep heads that we have, but there's actually a third one to increase the bicep width from the front, and that's the brachialis, right? In between the biceps and the triceps, you see that hump? That's the brachialis, pushing the biceps apart, making it width, increasing the width. So what you want to do for this is actually hammer curls. You have different kinds of varieties of hammer curls, but I like, of course, the old school dumbbell style. But one thing you have to truly take into consideration is the way to do it, because we all think, oh, this is a hammer curl like this. Just look at how my arm is positioned naturally. It actually wants to go this way and not that way, because if it goes this way, you actually go against your anatomy, wanting to move the natural position. So it's still a hinge joint, your elbow, and that is what is required to move it properly towards the direction it wants to go to prevent any elbow pain. So once I'm holding the dumbbell, go all the way down and go all the way up again. And you can see here, this brachialis is now contracting, and that is what you want to feel and see when you're doing this movement. In terms of rep range, once again, 12 to 20 is a safe one to do. And I like to do it alternating for each arm. So you can do your weak arm first in terms of the smallest arm, and then the strongest arm. But make sure when you go up, you feel that contraction, and then go all the way down. And you can really feel the pump starting to increase in size. And the bigger the pump will be, the better the result. Yeah. Also try to keep your wrist straight on your lower arm, because if you do this, some people like to do this, but you then don't train the forearm. You want to keep the wrist straight on the forearm to ensure you're also getting its forearm contraction in, because who doesn't want big forearms with big biceps? One more important thing, always keep the form in check. Don't go too heavy. It's a small muscle group. The heavier you go, the more the other muscle groups will aid in trying to lift the weight. You just want to isolate those small biceps and make them not so small, but big. All right, so we just did 3 biceps, and the overview of the amount of sets, the reps, and the exercises are right here. Alrighty guys, that was the video of just for the biceps. So we have a lot of other muscle groups to go. So let me know down in the comments what else you want to see and what the first muscle group I want to do next is going to be, because it's your decision, your feedback that fuels the fire to keep making these videos. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget